Welcome back to Panda Audiobooks. You are listening to Pursuit of the Truth by Gen, Episode 3, covering chapters 7, 8, and 9. The stakes are higher than ever for Su Ming. Having fully embraced his Berserker path, this segment throws him into fierce new conflicts and forces him to make heartbreaking choices that will define his future. We will see the true cost of cultivating power and the complexity of the relationships he left behind as the darkness surrounding his destiny deepens. Prepare for the turning point. Chapter 7. Gift. Su Ming never stopped moving in the forest. His body was like an arrow as he shot through the forest using his familiarity with the forest and his agility. Very soon, Dark Dragon Mountain appeared before his eyes. Once he got out of the forest, he would be able to get into Dark Dragon Mountain. For Su Ming, who came to this mountain since he was young to collect herbs, every single living thing here gave off an aura that put him at ease. It's written in the scroll that the Berserkers can increase their strength by calling forth their blood and make their bodies stronger while they are training in the blood solidification realm due to honing the Berserker blood within their bodies. I thought I would never obtain such an opportunity, but to think that I would be able to experience it today. To reach the first level in the blood solidification realm, the manifestation of 3 blood veins is needed. But even if I have yet to manifest all 3, my speed is increased by leaps and bounds. Even my strength has. Su Ming jumped forward and whilst in midair, he swung his right fist at the giant tree beside him. With a huge crash, the faint outline of his fist could be seen on the tree. But at the same time, Su Ming's right hand also felt numb, though his face was filled with excitement. But as he was drowning in excitement, a flash of red ran past him and let out a string of proud screeches. Obviously, it was made by the little monkey who felt pleased with itself for catching up to Su Ming and surpassing him. Su Ming smiled and chased after the red blur. His speed did not decrease, but he could not catch up to the little monkey. In the past, every single time he reached Dark Dragon Mountain, that monkey would be waiting for him impatiently with a face filled with scorn as if it had been waiting for him for a long time. But now, after 2 hours, as Su Ming climbed Dark Dragon Mountain and reached the same big rock with a hollow located in one of the mountains, he saw the monkey. While it still looked at him with scorn and disdain, its forehead was covered in sweat, showing that while it had arrived before him, it did not wait for long this time. Su Ming smiled and went up to touch the monkey's head. He took off the basket and stood on top of the rock. As he looked at the mist around the area, he took a deep breath. He liked standing there looking at the sights before him, even if there was a deep canyon right underneath. If he took a few steps forward and if wind blew at him right then and there, it would cause him to stumble and fall. It was a dangerous place, but Su Ming had been climbing this mountain ever since he was young. To him, this place was like a second home. Xiao Hong, how does it look like on the other side of the mountain? Have you gone there before? Su Ming's hide shirt swayed along the wind and let out light flapping sounds. Instinctively, he reached out with his right hand and touched the black stone on his chest. The monkey by his side rolled its eyes and looked at the land located far away. It did not bother to reply Su Ming, but lowered its head to tug at its own fur as if it was looking for something. Su Ming scratched his nose when he saw the little monkey grooming itself and ignoring him. He shook his head and smiled, then decided to sit down cross-legged on the spot where he stood. Xiao Hong, I'm not going to return to the tribe for a while this time. I might be staying here for a while, so if you go out and play, get some fruits back for me. The monkey beside him immediately lifted its head and looked at him with surprised eyes. It looked at Su Ming scrutinizingly, then smiled happily and nodded. It usually only got to spend 3 to 5 days with Su Ming. When Su Ming returned to the tribe, it would be left alone in the forest. Once it understood what Su Ming said, it was extremely happy. Su Ming took a few deep breaths and closed his eyes slowly as he felt the wind on his face. He was about to begin training there until he reached the first level in the blood solidification realm. Only then would he leave. After all, Su Ming did not know how to explain what happened to him. Somewhere in his mind, he wanted to keep this a secret and let no one know about it. A red vein appeared from Su Ming's body soon after he closed his eyes. This red vein was giving off a dim red glow. It was no longer glinting, but showing signs of manifestation. It was the same red vein that had only appeared vaguely half a month ago. The same red vein that was now manifesting itself completely. Su Ming may not have any talent in practicing the ways of the Berserker, but he was not the type to give up easily. Now, as he sat down with his legs crossed to train, time passed by slowly. The sun rose and set, the mist in the sky gathered and dispersed. The sounds of the birds and beasts echoed in the mountains, forming a sort of tranquility. Surrounded by that peace, Su Ming opened his eyes on the second day in the morning. He moved his body. When he looked back, he saw that the little monkey had gone off, but there were some fruits on the ground and some cores left from fruits that had been completely devoured. Su Ming picked up some of the fruits and ate a dozen of them. With his appetite, the fruits could only make him partially full. He may like to eat fruits, but he was not fond of eating too many in one go. Once he finished eating, Su Ming sat down immediately and focused on refining the Berserker blood within his body. But this time, Su Ming opened his eyes after a few moments with a puzzled look on his face. The first blood vein has already manifested, but it seems like there's not enough blood in me for the second vein to appear. Su Ming did not know how to describe it. It was as if the first vein itself absorbed more than half of the fresh blood in his body and there was not enough blood for the second vein to manifest itself. It was difficult to explain, but that was what Su Ming felt. I don't have enough blood. Su Ming scratched his head and sighed. He did not know that practitioners of the ways of the Berserker, especially during the initial stages, while requiring a strong body to train, would also need to take in a huge amount of medicine that would greatly boost the formation of blood within the body to increase the speed of their training and subsequently allow each vein to manifest one after another. The strength of a Berserker in the blood solidification realm was directly linked to the amount of blood veins and blood he had. The more blood a Berserker had, he would also be able to manifest more blood veins, and he would be stronger. Once the power was released, even with just their physical strength alone, they could tear apart a huge beast. This was Berserker power. All these were the secrets of the tribe. Only those who possessed Berserker bodies had the right to know about it. When the members of the tribe were injured, they would lose a large amount of blood. Their faces would grow pale and they would be weak. At that time, they would need to consume herbs that would help with the formation of blood. Su Ming's eyes lit up. After some careful thinking, he immediately slung the basket over his back and jumped towards the side of the mountain. This time, his speed was extremely fast and he returned about an hour later. When he returned, there were some herbs with dirt still attached to them in his basket. Once he cleaned those herbs, Su Ming took out a stone bowl from the basket. He crushed the herbs and mixed it with dew, which turned into a dark green concoction that emitted a strange smell. But he was already used to this smell. He breathed in a few whiffs of the smell, then added more herbs. Once it was done, he took a deep breath and drank the whole thing down. It was disgusting. Su Ming frowned in discomfort but forced himself to drink the whole thing before sitting down with his legs crossed again. It was not until midnight before Su Ming opened his eyes again. When he did, he stared into the darkness and let his mind wander. There's a little effect, but only a little. The method is correct, but something is still wrong. Su Ming frowned. He could not tell his elder about this. He could only rely on himself to solve the problem. That's what's wrong. Su Ming's eyes lit up. As the common healer in the tribe, it was his job to collect herbs. He remembered every time he went to collect herbs, his elder would usually select some herbs from the pile and take it away. The rest would be given to the tribe leader and distributed to the tribe according to need. The herbs would be taken out of the herb storage when there was a need to use them to create medicine to cure the wounded and the sick. Dark Dragon saliva was among those taken away by the elder. But Dark Dragon saliva was no longer of any use to him, and thus, all of them were given to Su Ming to nourish his body. There's still some Dark Dragon saliva left after I gave some to Lei Chen. Su Ming immediately ruffled through the contents in the side pocket of the basket and took out the small bottle. When he opened it, there was the familiar fragrance wafting in the air. He shook it lightly. There was only a little less than half left. Without any hesitation, Su Ming placed the bottle by his lips and drank all the contents in one mouthful. Then he immediately sat down with his legs crossed, immersing himself in refining and solidifying the Berserker blood in his veins. Su Ming had been drinking Dark Dragon saliva since he was young. Every time he drank it, he would feel a bit faint with a sensation as if he was about to fall asleep drunk. But this was the first time he drank Dark Dragon's saliva to assist in his Berserker training. As the blood in his veins circulated in his body, he could feel a cold sensation growing within his body, spreading to all parts of his body very quickly. The cold gradually fused with the blood in his veins and increased the rate of circulation in his body. There were even signs of his blood rate increasing. I knew it. Su Ming felt excited. As he continued channeling his blood, his body suddenly shivered. He opened his eyes, his face filled with disbelief and doubt. How could this? Is it the Elder? Within his body, Su Ming could clearly feel the coldness emerging from all parts of his body as he absorbed the chill brought about by Dark Dragon's saliva. That cold feeling seemed to have existed in his body for many years and had been laying dormant, waiting for the time to rush forth the moment he started refining the blood in his veins. And the key to activate it was the same Dark Dragon saliva that Su Ming drank. Now, that cold seemed to gather from every part of his body, crashing through his veins like a gigantic wave to form a sea. This was a gift which the Elder prepared for him when he was young. His body that had been nourished by Dark Dragon saliva was the gift. If Su Ming walked on the ways of the Berserker, then this power would aid him immensely in the earlier stages of his training. If he did not have the gift to practice in the ways of the Berserker, then it would help keep his body healthy. Su Ming was dumbfounded. He could almost see his Elder's kind eyes and his expectations towards him as he grew older over the years. Most of all, he remembered the disappointment in his eyes half a month ago. Elder. Su Ming mumbled. There was a low rumbling sound within his body. The vast amount of Dark Dragon saliva that had gathered in his body over time rushed forth to drive his blood forward, causing the second blood vein in his body to appear immediately and manifest quickly. As the second blood vein appeared, the third blood vein immediately followed suit. There were even signs of the fourth blood vein appearing vaguely. Su Ming's body began rapidly growing bigger. The speed and the strength of his blood circulation brought about his physical growth. If this continued, then he would no longer be frail and weak, and he would be just like the other members of his tribe. He would obtain a strong body. Yet at that very moment, the stone hanging off Su Ming's chest suddenly gave off the very same piercing light as it did in the statue of the god of Berserkers. The moment the light came, things changed. Chapter 8. Barrenness. As the cold light appeared, Su Ming could clearly feel a strong wave of heat emitting from his chest and traveling through his entire body quickly. It spread throughout his body in an instant and fused together with the cold brought by the Dark Dragon saliva, permeating into his blood. A clear roar could be heard from within Su Ming's body. As he was sitting down trembling furiously, the fourth blood vein manifested itself. At the same time, a large amount of black filth seeped out of Su Ming's pores. There was even a terrible stench in the air, but it disappeared along with the wind. With 3 blood veins, one could reach the first level of the blood solidification realm. Now, Su Ming had become a Berserker who reached the first level of the blood solidification realm. Still, he kept his eyes closed. There were no signs of him waking up. As time passed, the solidification of his blood gradually stopped as the fourth blood vein manifested. When the little monkey returned the next morning while sniffing at its right claw with a pleased look on its face, it was surprised when it saw Su Ming covered entirely in black filth. It scratched its head in confusion, then circled Su Ming a few times. It may have obtained intelligence, but it did not know what was happening then. Curious, it approached Su Ming and reached out a claw, wanting to pat Su Ming. Just as it was about to touch Su Ming, the light once appeared strongly from within Su Ming's body. It reached its brightest in an instant and enveloped Su Ming entirely, making the monkey hang its mouth open in shock. Then before its very eyes, Su Ming's body disappeared. To the little monkey, Su Ming was taken by the light. This scene made it widen its eyes and let out a piercing screech. It rushed towards where Su Ming disappeared and began searching in frenzy, but it found nothing. It stood there, unmoving and stunned. Su Ming did not know where he was. He was currently looking at his surroundings in confusion. The place was enveloped in white mist. He could see too far into the distance, but he could see the vague outline of the peak of a mountain before him. He had just woken up, but he remembered he was in Dark Mountain. He could not understand how he got there. His gaze slowly turned cautious. He first lowered his gaze and looked at his chest, then felt his heart missing a beat. The strange black piece of debris was missing from his chest. It's gone. Su Ming was shocked. He looked around at his surroundings, then stood up slowly. His gaze was dark and alert as he started walking towards the mist-covered mountaintop. The mountain was not far away. Within a short amount of time, Su Ming was standing at the foot of the mountain. As he lifted his head, he took in a sharp breath. It was the peak of a mountain for sure, but there were no plants on it. It was instead a barren land, as if it had been polished smoothly. There were a lot of pictures carved on it: mountains, rivers, strange beasts, the sky, and even words that Su Ming have never seen before. The place gave off a feeling as if it was from ancient times, as if came straight from the stories about the age of the savages. At the very moment Su Ming looked at the carvings on the mountaintop, a roaring sound echoed in the air. A crack appeared right in the middle of the mountain, as if it was cut apart by an invisible force. The crack was narrow, and he could see how far it went down. It stopped under Su Ming's feet. Su Ming briefly hesitated, then gritted his teeth. He was already here, and he did not know how to get out of the place. He did not even know where he was. Now that there was a path before him, he had to trudge forward. Somewhere in his mind he felt that this was connected in some way to the black piece of debris, because he remembered clearly the heat emitted by the debris. Su Ming felt as if he walked for a long time as he went into the mountain following the narrow crack. The road before him gradually grew wider. There were also a lot of weird carvings on the walls around him. Su Ming could not understand it, but there were various plants and herbs on the carvings. There were also some naked people with messy hair surrounding an odd big pot fiddling around with the herbs. He continued observing the carvings until he caught a glimpse of the end out of the corner of his eyes. There was a door at the end, and Su Ming paused in his footsteps as he stood at the door. The same carving was on the door. There were different herbs carved in the drawing. Uneven strings emitting the cold light. Su Ming was already familiar with surrounded the drawing of the 5 herbs and formed a circle, completely covering the door. Right at the center of the door were 15 small holes. They looked as if something could be placed within. The holes formed a circle. Su Ming frowned, then scrutinized the door. He took a look at his surroundings again, then cast his gaze at the 5 herbs on the door. This is iron core flower. That's right, it's the iron core flower. It looks like joy leaf, but it also looks like the iced catalpa plant. This is the night glitter branch. I often collect these. What is this? It looks really familiar. I've never seen the last one. After looking at it for a while, Su Ming hesitated. He did not know whether he should try and push the door open. Just as he was hesitating, he saw the strings surrounding the 5 herbs move and shine so brightly it could blind the eyes. As Su Ming was stunned by the moment, the light floated from the door and sped towards Su Ming. The light was too quick, and Su Ming had no time to dodge. Within just a moment, he was enveloped by the light. At the same time, a lot of memories not belonging to Su Ming flooded into his mind. These memories seemed to have been brought along with the light and forced their way into his head. It made Su Ming uncomfortable. He saw the figure of a person. He was just like the other people in the other drawings, throwing herbs into a big pot. The person's actions were very fluid. Each time he threw the herbs in, he would take a sniff at the herbs, then his gaze became serious. He waved at the air with his right hand and a wave of fire appeared in the air encircling the big pot. The process was extremely complicated. Even the size of the fire had to be controlled. Su Ming had never seen this before. It was not as complicated in the tribe either. They would usually just eat the herbs or at most turn them into a concoction to increase the effects. Su Ming became engrossed with the memories in his head. A long time passed before the person slammed his right hand against the pot. Immediately, the flame around the pot disappeared. The person opened the lid of the strange pot, and Su Ming immediately saw 3 green spherical objects the size of nails within the big pot. Even if they were just memories in his head, Su Ming could still faintly smell the scent of medicinal herbs in the air. When he looked at the 3 spherical objects, he became completely stunned, as if he was hit by lightning. He had been making medicine since he was young. With just a glance, he could tell the quality of various medicines. As he was now, He could not even begin imagining the effects of these spherical objects. The light around his body disappeared and returned to the door, causing the numerous strings that formed the circle on the door to also move. As the light faded, Su Ming's sight became clouded. He moved as if he was pushed by an invisible force. When his view cleared, a red blur came screeching towards him in joy. The red blur was, of course, Xiao Hong. It climbed over Su Ming and jumped happily on his body. When Su Ming disappeared, it had been terrified. Now that it saw Su Ming return, it was happy. Su Ming was stunned. He immediately looked at his surroundings and found that he had returned to the big rock on the Dark Dragon Mountain. He lowered his head and saw the piece of debris that had disappeared still hanging on his chest. All of this must be connected to this thing. Perhaps when I arrived at the first level of in the realm of blood solidification, I activated it, and all of that happened. Looking at Xiao Hong's reaction, I must not have been dreaming, but went physically to that place. Just what is this thing? Why is it here? Su Ming mumbled softly as he recalled the memories in his head. Quenching, the medicinal pills. After a long while, Su Ming mumbled out the name of the refining process he saw in his head. Scattering dust. This was the name of the medicinal pill, and it was also one of the many memories that appeared in his head. Su Ming spoke in a low tone. In his mind he saw the carving on the door. His eyes lightened up gradually. He may not know where the place was, but it was clear that quenching thing he saw had piqued his interest. In his view, the training to become a berserker is related to those herbs that increase the blood rate in the body. They needed to consume lots of it to make their bodies stronger. That quenching process he saw in his head might be able to help immensely in his training. I've never seen a round medicinal pill like this in the tribe, not even the elder has seen one before, or else I would have definitely seen it. But that round medicinal pills seem to be working pretty well. I wonder how strong the effects of the herbs would be once I finish refining it. Then my next step would be to look for those 5 herbs. Xiao Hong, have you ever seen these 2 types of herbs? Once Su Ming made his decision, he called out to Xiao Hong and picked up a stone, then drew the 2 herbs that he was unable to identify on the ground before he looked expectantly at Xiao Hong. Xiao Hong looked at them with his teeth bared, then gave a nod. Su Ming felt his spirits lift. He walked around the big rock several times as his mind quickly processed his thoughts. I can find the herbs, but making that sort of medicinal pills will be complicated. There's even fire involved. It'll be just like cooking rice. Interesting. Once Su Ming had his thoughts sorted out, he frowned. He remembered that the pot itself was also odd. It was different from the pots used to cook rice in the tribe. As he was searching through the memories in his head, he learned the pot used for the quenching process had an odd name, the barren cauldron. The pots used in the tribe should be useless. I'll also need fire. Su Ming lifted his head suddenly as he was mumbling. His eyes were bright as he looked at one of the mountains located further away among the 5 mountains in Dark Dragon Mountain. That mountain was completely brown in color, and at this moment, there was smoke rolling out from the top of the mountain. Chapter 9. Red Mud. Each one of the 5 mountains in the Dark Dragon Mountain are different. The mountain which produced the Dark Dragon saliva was the closest to the Dark Mountain tribe. If he went any further, he might accidentally run into other people from other tribes. That was why Su Ming spent most his time here. He would only venture to the other mountains to collect some rarer herbs, and he did so with caution. Now, within Su Ming's sights, was the mountain which had smoke rolling down from its peak, Black Flame Mountain. It is said that there was a huge amount of earth and fire within this mountain. A long time ago, this place was the center of the land of the Fire Berserker tribe. Centuries may have passed since then, but if anyone approached this place, they could still feel waves of heat rolling off the very ground. Su Ming was not unfamiliar with Black Flame Mountain. He had stepped foot in this place multiple times. He had even met the people from the Black Mountain tribe before. If it were not for his speed aiding his escape, he would have died much earlier. That place was very close to the Black Mountain tribe. The Black Mountain tribe had held grudges against the Dark Mountain tribe for generations. The sizes of both tribes were about the same. There may be no battles between them, but there were scuffles among their hunting teams, and these scuffles tended to be bloody and cruel. There was a moment of hesitation, but very soon Su Ming's eyes lit up as he had a plan. He turned his gaze away from Black Flame Mountain after a long while, then quickly walked towards the deeper parts of the flat stone. There were a few big stones at the hollowed part of the stone. When Su Ming took them away, he saw an object that had been hidden underneath by the stones. It was a crudely made bow. It may be crude, but the string of the bow, which was the size of a finger, was stretched tautly across the bow. Its power could be felt just by looking at it. Only hunters were allowed to possess bows within the Dark Mountain tribe. It was difficult for other tribe members to obtain one. Su Ming made the bow himself after he exchanged some materials with the herbs he collected. He did not take it back to the tribe but kept it here. This was a secret that only Lei Chen knew. As he held the bow, Su Ming's lit up brightly. He took out another 5 arrows from underneath the big stones. The arrowheads were made from stone, and Su Ming would usually polish the arrowheads so that they would remain sharp. He placed the 5 arrows on the basket over his back. Su Ming held the bow in his hand and whistled at the little monkey before pointing at the herbs he drew on the ground. The little monkey understood him, and grinned at him, displaying all its teeth before rushing forward in a red blur. Su Ming followed closely behind carefully. With just a few leaps, the man and the monkey disappeared from where they stood. If they were comparing their level of familiarity towards Dark Dragon Mountain, then Su Ming would never be able to compare with Xiao Hong. Under Xiao Hong's guidance, as the sun became a bright red and started to set, Su Ming's basket was filled with various medicinal herbs. There were about 7 or 8 types of herbs in the basket, and there were plenty for each type. These were all the herbs that Su Ming saw from the drawing, and even herbs that were similar to the drawings. He was unable to identify them completely. That was why he decided to take the herbs that bore similarities to the drawings as well. You mean there's another herb that looks alike here? It was almost twilight by this point. Su Ming and Xiao Hong were standing in the forest near Black Flame Mountain. He was pointing at a patch of black mud on the ground before them, looking at Xiao Hong. Xiao Hong bobbed its head up and down, then gestured at Su Ming wildly before pointing at the setting sun in the sky. Su Ming's eyes lit up in understanding. He squatted down and fixed his gaze at the swamp, waiting for the sun to set. Seconds ticked by slowly, and after half an hour, the light in the forest grew dim. It was almost as if everything outside 100 feet radius within the forest had been consumed by darkness. As soon as night fell on the land, bubbles suddenly emerged from the mud. There was also the vague shape of a red plant. It was rising up so quickly as if it was swimming forward. The odd sight made Su Ming's hair rise, but he did not move. He watched as the red plant continued to swim in the mud, then slowly rise from it. It was the bud of a red flower. The roots were still hidden in the mud. It was obvious now that the flower had been moving about in the mud just now due to the movements of its roots. As he watched the flower buds emerge from the mud, they bloomed before Su Ming's eyes and let out a nice fragrance. Su Ming only took a whiff and immediately, he felt as if his blood was boiling. It was as if his entire body was surrounded by flames and his skin burnt by the heat. At that moment, Xiao Hong let out a nervous screech. Su Ming did not hesitate and rushed forward, grabbing the red flower closest to him. There was a sharp spatula made of stone in his hand, and with practiced movements he cut the flower part from its roots, then threw it into the basket over his back. Once he was done, Su Ming did not linger and left quickly with Xiao Hong. As soon as Su Ming left, there was the sound of a roar from a beast from within the mud, and all the red flowers immediately closed their petals before sinking into the mud once more. Soon, fresh blood emerged from the mud and the stench of blood filled the air. Su Ming and Xiao Hong left in a hurry. When the sky darkened completely, they were sitting on a tree and looking through their hall using the moonlight. There were many types of herbs in the basket, a sight which made Su Ming excited. He saw the quenching scene in his mind once again, and he became even more excited to do it. It's a pity I don't know the effects of the scattering dust, but it should be really good nonetheless. Su Ming licked his lips, casting his gaze towards 2 of the herbs in the basket. These 2 herbs were similar in color, and if he was not looking at them closely they would look exactly the same. They are both red, and the only difference between them was that one of them had 6 petals, and the other 5 petals. Su Ming was not familiar with those 2 herbs. They were the only ones he had never seen before in the making of the scattering dust. It was fortunate that Xiao Hong had seen them before and could bring Su Ming to them. Just which one of them is the one necessary to make the medicine? Su Ming frowned. He swept his gaze along the two herbs. He had obtained the 6-petal flower from the mud. As he remembered the strange sight that had happened when it bloomed, Su Ming had a feeling that if he ate this raw, his body would explode. He placed the herb once more in the basket and laid down on the branch, then took a bite at a piece of fruit. He watched the stars in the sky and breathed in the air in the forest. He could hear the sounds of the beasts and birds around him. It was as if he had become one with the forest, and it was a comfortable feeling. Xiao Hong was grooming itself by the side, its eyes warily surveying their surroundings. The man and the monkey spent the night on the tree just like that. As the sun rose the next morning, Su Ming and Xiao Hong left the tree and hurried towards Black Flame Mountain as the forest was covered by darkness and surrounded by a thin veil of mist. Su Ming remained on alert as he held the bow in his hands. Xiao Hong was also affected by this and was also wary of its surroundings. When the sun rose to the sky, the snow-like mist disappeared from the forest. There was a gigantic mountain before his eyes. The mountain was brown, and he could feel waves of heat rolling off the ground onto his face. He could even see puffs of black smoke rising into the air at the very top of the mountain. It was a sight to behold from afar. Black Flame Mountain. Su Ming muttered softly, then cast a wary eye at his surroundings before rushing up the mountain with no hesitation. He was already prepared before he came. There were a lot of heat-repellent herbs under his feet, and with their presence, Su Ming could climb to the top of the mountain without stopping. He may be climbing really quickly, but he remained alert, and his wariness only increased as he climbed further up. He did not know how long he took, but as he was halfway up the mountain, Xiao Hong let out a screech as he was about to continue upward. Su Ming immediately hid his body in one of the cracks by the side of the mountain without any hesitation as soon as he heard the screech. He planted his feet firmly on the ground and lifted the bow in his right hand as he quickly took out an arrow. It was all done within the span of a breath. Xiao Hong arrived before Su Ming, and was now pressed closely to him. Su Ming breathed slowly, his eyes cold. From where he stood, if any of the members of the Black Mountain tribe noticed him, then they would have to fight till the death. Very soon, soft voices traveled to where he stood, and there were even sounds of stones falling as they spoke. Why are they asking us to mine stones so early in the morning? What is this for anyway? Stop complaining. This is a request from the tribe leader. We just need to do it. By the way, did you hear? The elder is about to reach the next level. I also heard about it from the other tribe members that the elder is different than how he is usually. He's a bit terrifying now. Could the tribe leader be asking us to mine these stones for the elder? The voices became clearer and then gradually faded. Su Ming remained still as he stood pressed against the crack. It was not until the two people had gone further away that he let out a sigh of relief. Black Mountain Tribe's elder is about to reach the next level. I remember the elder once saying that the elder in Black Mountain Tribe was at the 8th level of the blood solidification realm, but he has mastered an evil art just so that he could go up against the elder. Su Ming narrowed his eyes. He would have to return later to tell his elder about this. He waited for a bit longer to make sure those two had gone far away, then Su Ming continued scaling the mountain. But at that moment, the little monkey by his side grabbed his shirt. Su Ming immediately turned his head in alarm, but he only saw the monkey's face bright with excitement, pointing towards the crack they had stayed. There was a small, naturally formed hole over there, and steam was rising from it. Su Ming immediately gave up on climbing the mountain any further and decided to approach the small hole. After careful scrutiny, he took off the basket on his back and brought it into the hole as he crawled into it, with Xiao Hong keeping close to his footsteps. The hole was not big, and Su Ming only managed to get in because he was on the smaller side. If it were any of the other members of the Berserker tribe, they would not have been able to make it in. Chapters 7 through 9 conclude with a shocking revelation and a powerful display of Su Ming's growing strength, solidifying his place as a force to be reckoned with. The threads of fate are tightening around him, and the separation from his past is now complete. Thank you for listening to this crucial part of Pursuit of the Truth from Panda Audiobooks. What development surprised you the most in these chapters? Share your thoughts below. Join us next time for episode 4, covering chapters 10, 11, and 12, as the pursuit leads to even greater heights. Like, subscribe, and continue the epic saga.